Good day, everyone. I am your teacher today, Miss Chell.
Good day also everyone. I am your second teacher for today, Miss Apple.
First and foremost, let me introduce to you who is Edward Tolman. Edward Tolman is an American psychologist who significantly reshaped the landscape of behavioral psychology. Tolman pioneered Neo-Behaviorism, which emphasizes the role of cognitive process in learning. His groundbreaking research, particularly with rats and mazes, cognitive maths, latent learning, purposive behaviorism, intervening variables. Tolman bridged the gap between behaviorism and the emerging field of cognitive psychology, leaving a lasting impact on our understanding of how learning occurs.
Defining the Neo-Behaviorism. After we introduce Edward Tolman, let's define what Neo-Behaviorism is. Tolman's approach is called Neo-Behaviorism. Neo means new or revised. So Neo-Behaviorism is a revised form of behaviorism. It acknowledges the importance of observable behavior but also recognizes the role of cognitive factors or intervening variables that occurs between stimuli and responses. To continue our discussion, let's talk about Tolman's famous concept, which is the cognitive map. For example, imagine you're trying to find your way in a big barangay of Nazareth, Cagayan de Oro City. You don't recognize the turn, instead you see every street number and you follow it to reach your destination. This develops a mental representation of that place. Seeing the street numbers, that's a cognitive map. Tolman proposed that animals, including humans, develop this mental representation of their environment.
Let's envision Tolman's concept map. In his experiment, Tolman uses mazes with rats inside. Hence, he found out that rats were simply learning the basics of left and right turns. Instead, they developed a mental map of the maze. Even when the maze was altered, the rats could often find their way to the goal, suggesting they had a cognitive understanding of the space.
And now, let's talk about and explore the key concept of latent learning, purposive behaviorism, and intervening variables one by one.
Latent learning is a learning that occurs but isn't immediately apparent in behavior. Imagine a student reading a textbook before a test. They may not show any immediate signs of learning, but when the test comes, they perform well. Tolman demonstrated this by having rats explore a maze without a reward. Later, when a reward was introduced, the rats learned the maze much faster than the rats that had no prior experience. They had learned the layout, but the learning was latent or hidden until they had motivation.
Second is a purposive behaviorism. Tolman believed that behavior is a goal-directed. Animals and humans act with a purpose, even if they're not consciously aware of it. They're not just responding to stimuli, they're working toward a goal.
Third is intervening variables. These are internal mental processes that mediate between stimuli and responses. They include things like expectations, beliefs, and cognitive maps. They are not directly observable, but Tolman argued they are crucial for understanding. If you have a question about how does Tolman's approach differ from classical and operant conditioning,
Classical and operant conditioning focus on stimulus-response associations and reinforcement. Tolman adds the elements of cognition, emphasizing mental representations and goal-directed behavior.
classical and operant conditioning primarily explain learning through direct association and reinforcement. Tolman latent learning shows that learning can occur without immediate reinforcement. In addition, Tolman's theory allows for a more complex understanding of learning. allowing for eternal mental processes that are not directly observable.
Let's set a real-world application of Tolman'S theory and education. Tolman's work revolutionized education by emphasizing the importance of understanding. Teachers can create a learning environments that encourage students to develop cognitive maps, not just memorizing facts. They can use project-based learning, problem-solving, and real-world scenarios. For example, instead of just memorizing historical dates, students can create timelines, maps, and presentation that help them to understand the connection between events. This helped them to develop a cognitive map of history. To visualize, show students working on a group project creating a map of or diagram.